So hello, it's World Cup final weekend. We're getting towards the end of our diary series, and I found Seán O'Connor. He's normally across this tournament. He's on the other end of a split screen somewhere, or he's on my phone screen, like eating a barbecue on a roller coaster, drinking coffee, interviewing fans. But we are actually together. We actually haven't seen each other. We're in New York for final weekend. So how was life?
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
In the flesh.
Yeah.
You know.
How are you getting on?
Good. Yeah. Got into New York last night after a 3-hour delay, but we got there in the end.
No one cares about your delays.
I know you had your issues as well, but yeah, here for the final week and the last chapter of the 6-week journey. Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe. It seems like it's flown. Like I was here 3 weeks ago for 2 games, and it kind of only seems like yesterday. And since then, I think I've done Atlanta, Kansas City, Boston, Dallas, and yeah, just a few days to go now.
Yeah, like it's sort of, how will this World Cup be remembered? And like we're all in that zone now, and I think there's a degree of consensus forming that it has been a success, notwithstanding all the probably, I think you wrote a little bit about this and not touched on it. We had a degree of apprehension coming over about aspects of America, and then you get here and you realise how stupid that is, because it is still a fantastic place to visit. It is the perfect host in the sense that, unlike other countries that I've visited in recent World Cups, where you're at stadiums where these stadiums have been built, you know, with migrant workers, they'll never be used again. It's been a waste. There's a white elephant stadium in the middle of the Amazon or somewhere. Like this is, you know, a disgrace in a lot of ways. And while there are obviously things surrounding this tournament that are disgraceful, these are still great sporting cities. These are venues that are part of the fabric of day-to-day life in these cities, and that's what makes it such a perfect host. As much as there are little logistic things here and there that could be better, again, that most people at home just don't care about, it's a great country to host an event. And like that's a simple, whatever your view on other things about what may be going on, it is still just like, it is the perfect host in so many ways.
No, it has turned out like brilliantly, like the vibes around the city, the colour, the fans, like it's stating the obvious. There really is nothing like a World Cup. I know you've been to America a good few times before, but it was my first time here at all at 27 years old. Never did a J1, don't have any family here. So there was that little bit of apprehension, like the last decade or so, you know, with Trump, there was that apprehension, wasn't sure I was going to go. We mentioned before how there was some players and referees with more difficult routes to get into the country than you and
we're
I had.
We're not the typical profile of the troubled visitor as well. So you're not going to be apprehended.
But like in terms of like, you know, you're wondering if you got in a taxi, would you be asked, you know, about your political views? And you realise after a few days chatting to the locals just how silly some of those thoughts you might have had before you get here actually were. And you know, when someone asks you how are the people in America, it's very hard to say, because there are so many cultures here. Each city has its own kind of vibe. Like you can't equate New York to Boston or Seattle to LA or Miami at all. So you kind of have to take each city in isolation almost. But it's been tremendous, and I think I've said it before, like after a little while you just realise that everyone really just wants to get on with their own lives, help each other out, and generally people are sound. And just on the tournament as a whole, there has been the off the field issues which we've touched on, but you know, as a host, the hospitality, the outgoing nature of the American people, who maybe it's the Irish link, maybe they just like chatting to the Irish people, but
I just want to feed you, Seán. I think that's probably the overwhelming theme.
Oh my God.
But
it's been fabulous.
No, it has, and that's the thing. Look, anyone who comes out, like, and listen, I've done this before. You go to a tournament and you try and wrap the place. And look, in Qatar, that wasn't very hard to do because it's a small place. You genuinely could get a sense of Qatar pretty quickly. But in other places, like, you can drop in for 6 weeks in a tournament lifestyle where you get the tournament experience, and anyone who claims to be able to get to fully encapsulate it and summarise it neatly is spoofing a little bit, because there is, like, you know, there is such a there's, as you said, there's so many different stories going on here, and I am conscious. I've spoken to people, even some of the Scottish journalists who were in Charlotte, which isn't a host city, and they had a very different World Cup experience because there wasn't much of the buzz there, whereas here on the streets around the games, the conversations, the mingling, like it's a very corporate World Cup in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things you wouldn't like about it, but what actually is bigger than that is the interactions and the conversations and the actual mingling and people being comfortable enough in expressing their identity, be it Cape Verdean or Iraqi. You know, even if they have spent their whole life in America, they're very proud of their heritage, and that's definitely like one thing I would take away from it, that for all the flaws, America has been better delivering that, and each country having a fan base, more so than in previous renewals where there'd be maybe 7 or 8 well supported countries and the rest not. Here it's genuinely, as I've said this before, pretty much everyone apart from Qatar, because Qataris don't emigrate, life is just too good for them, the native Qataris. Everyone else has a diaspora that pretty much has a footprint here, and that's been a part of it. But look, Sunday is Spain and Argentina. I was just thinking, I mean, look, there'll be a lot said and written about the final, and we will have stuff in the next couple of days building up to it. Do you have any regrets over teams you haven't seen? Because I'm thinking, I've seen Spain a couple of times, I've seen Argentina a couple of times. My one regret for me is not seeing France in the flesh. That's the one team, this great team that people are naturally speaking about. Unfortunately, I didn't see them. What about you, Anthony? I didn't see Brazil either. Obviously, the Brazil experience, I think you got a bit of that, did you, for Scotland, Brazil? You've probably done all right, actually, in terms of getting around and seeing teams. There's nothing you feel like you missed.
Yeah, I saw there a few days ago, you were wondering about the semi-final matches that you thought I might have got the better football game. You got probably the better battle and the energy of that. But yeah, it's funny, just the way it turned out. I ended up doing 3 out of France's 4 knockout games. I did 3 of them, which is kind of unique. In terms of teams I haven't seen much of, maybe Mexico, just because of the buzz, the colour, the fans. Did Mexico's opening game at the Azteca, which was an experience I will never forget as long as I live. I know you were back there not too long ago as well. Maybe a couple more days in Mexico would have been amazing, just get more of a flavour of the pandemonium that was just around the city after just the visceral energy. Like, it's on a different level, the Mexican fans. I was privileged to do one of Pico's games. Obviously, that was a great experience. Scotland Brazil was an experience in itself. I think for me, maybe my one bucket list thing was probably covering a Messi game. So to do that at Argentina Egypt, and that was a thrill in itself. And just the way the game turned out was just something. It'll be very, very, very hard to top that. And obviously, to be seeing him a second time now at the final, very, very privileged. But in terms of teams I haven't seen, I think I've done okay.
Basically, Sean, what you're saying is seen them all, mate. We're actually grand. I actually feel like,
I think you'll be taking the mick to be like, oh, you know, I would have liked to be more of them, but I think I've done okay.
Yeah, no, I've done a lot of cities. I missed some of the teams, but look, it's been pretty good. I think the final is a great contest. I love the fact they haven't played each other in recent memory since 1966. I like the fact that they're 2 real united teams, and as much as it's going to be about Messi and it's going to be about Yamal, I think, you know, the collective Argentina experience will give the final a proper atmosphere. Sometimes the final, as much as you have it in your head that the World Cup final, you think that is going to be the ultimate event, but obviously there's a lot of corporate tickets there that means it's hard to have a natural colour. I think the Argentina will actually give it that. You know, it's going to be a sort of a sunny afternoon. Not the best venue in the world, maybe, but I think the conditions and the element. But I still think there is just this glamour about America, and not to put an age on you, but obviously I know you're too young to remember '94. Like, for people my age, you remember '94, and you have this image of these glamorous arenas, the sun, the long-range goals. We've had a lot of that in this tournament. I think there is a lot of memories that the younger fans of this competition watching, you know, the 6-7-year-olds watching this, will take away from it. So I think that is bigger. That is probably the enduring success of the competition. But the only thing we miss, of course, Sean, is Ireland being in these things, and like that
is the war.
But that is the thing. That is the thing that's driven home. I know it's your first World Cup, and obviously the Euros in 2 years' time. For me, the one thing I would say is, from being in Canada for the opening game, And there's probably comparisons there that, as much as I would have been sceptical in some ways about going for the Euros, there's a lot we need to get right in our football infrastructure first. There is going to be something about that day 2 summers from now where hopefully all going to plan. Ireland are playing in the Euros, and that is something that coming here does give you an appetite for that.
Yeah, it was funny. The only moment I've had this whole trip where it really hit home Ireland's absence was being in and amongst the Scotland fans in Miami leading up to Brazil, 2 days before, a day before. I was chatting to you and there was 2,000 of them behind me when I was trying to flick away mozzies, but I looked at that, I was walking around chatting to fans, and it just, it hits you, you're like, oh man, it would have been serious. It was the only moment I've had where you were kind of thinking, oh God, it would have been class. But hopefully this time when we're chatting in 4 years, we won't be talking about Ireland's absence. We'll be talking about hopefully getting out of the group, and who knows where we'll be then.
Getting out of the group in the 64-team World Cup. Well, you know what, we've got plenty of time to discuss that in the future. But look, it's been good catching up with you. I'm glad you've enjoyed your trip, and stick with us. We've got 2 more games to go. No one's really too bothered about that whole England-France thing. We've got 1 game to go really on Sunday. Spain-Argentina. We'll have our final World Cup diary after that. And stick with us on The Independent across the weekend as we're bringing it home.